Good morning. Today we're going to talk about points, lines, and planes. Points, lines, and planes are the three basic undefined terms of geometry. Um, so a point is a basic undefined term. It has no size. In a figure, it is represented by a dot. So for example, this is point E, and sometimes you'll see it like this, point E, or you will just see point E, and even more frequently, you'll just see the letter E. A line extends indefinitely and has no thickness, so it goes forever and ever in two directions, and it doesn't have any thickness, so you can't actually touch a line. That's why it's undefined. Um, you would call a line, or you would name a line. For example, uh, this line here, we could call it line CD, and you could put that little hat on top that means line, or you could call it DC, or you could call it by this little lowercase level letter that represents that line. So line I. Those are usually italicized. Collinear. Co is a prefix that means together, like a co-worker or collaborate. And then you know that line is in there, right? So collinear means that points, for example, are on the same line. All right, so for example, you might have A, C, and D all on the same line. Non-collinear means exactly the opposite, so not on the same line. A line segment is just a piece of a line or a section of a line. So you might draw one by saying, okay, well, here's one endpoint and here's another endpoint. Let's call this one C, this one D. This would be segment CD or segment DC. The order doesn't really matter. What's important is that notation on top, the hat that means line segment in this case. A ray is part of a line with one endpoint, and all endpoints on the line extend in one direction. So a good example would be ray BA, where B is the endpoint and A is the direction that it extends to. So that would be that ray going up. Opposite rays are two rays. They share an endpoint, and they extend in two directions. So for example, on this line, you have a ray CA and a ray CB that are opposite rays. I want you to know that ray CA and ray CB both have to start, when you're naming them, start with the endpoint and then finish in the direction that they're going in. So start at C, go to A, start at C, go to B, and those are opposite directions. So an example is ray CA and ray CB. This question here, line H and plane J intersect at. Line H is this one right here. It's actually in plane J, so they intersect at line H. The intersection of a line and a plane is A, and this is kind of a trick question because there are two answers here. So a line can intersect a plane and be in that plane, so it could be a line, or a line could intersect a plane, like this line KF intersects plane J at this point K. All right, plane. Plane is a basic undefined term of geometry. Planes can be thought of as flat surfaces that extend indefinitely in all directions and have no thickness. Move this up just ever so slightly so you can see where we're at. All right, so coplanar, remember co is together, and then non-coplanar is going to be not together. So coplanar would be points or lines that are on the same plane. So for example, on this plane, you would have A, D, and G are all coplanar points. And non-coplanar are not on the same plane. So for example, you would have E is on a different plane than everything else, right? A and C. Those are non-coplanar. Now A and C are on the same plane, but E is not, so these are non-coplanar points. All right, parallel lines, you learned about these in Algebra 1. Parallel lines are lines that never intersect. They are coplanar and never intersect. They never cross, they never meet. So for example, you could say that line FE, that's this red one right here, line FE, and line AH are parallel. You can also use the parallel notation. So for example, we could say that ED is parallel to AB. Okay, so ED is down here and AB is right there. Now it doesn't look like they're on the same plane, but you could actually draw a plane through there that connects A and E and B and D. And that would be another plane that exists, but we don't have to necessarily draw when we have a rectangular prism. Okay, skew lines. Skew lines are lines that are non-coplanar and never intersect. Okay, so those would be, for example, FE, start with that one, is skew to BG. So this one here and that one there, they're not on the same plane, but they're never going to intersect. Okay. When we use skew lines are, for example, when we're designing like a subway system, the trains don't run into each other because they're on different planes, or like air traffic control. The planes don't run into each other while they're landing because the air traffic controllers have them flying in on skew lines. Parallel planes are just like that, planes that never intersect. So you'd want to think of like opposite sides of a box. So this plane here and that plane there are never going to intersect, or opposite sides of a room, like the floor and the ceiling. Okay, a couple of questions here based on these pictures. Lines intersect at. Lines intersect at a point, always. The intersection of two lines is a point. You know what? I think they were asking us about these two lines. So these lines, let's change that. These lines intersect at point K. All right, plane W and plane Z intersect at, well, they intersect at a line. And in fact, it's a particular line because we're talking about these particular planes, the blue one and the green one, intersect at line AB. You could also call it line BA. And the intersection of two planes is a line. Okay, have a great day.